Well, hello everybody. Welcome back to my channel. I'm going to come on here briefly and share some things that I did on a rough draft reading for David Wilcock. What happened to David Wilcock? Well, what happened to David? I try not to get emotional when I do this. That's why I brought sunglasses, right? But it's hard. It's kind of hard. So let me just get into this. What I speak on is not factual. This is just what I was picking up through the channeling session. The energy was just all over the place. Electrifying, maybe, would be a good word. And I kept seeing David, energetically, holding a calendar. Okay, he was holding just a calendar. And it was flipped to the year of 2046. 2046 is what I have down there. And he said, the solar flash is coming. And he was very adamant about this. The solar flash is coming. He didn't go into what happened to him. We get into some of that, but it was just like, you know what? Let's talk about the solar flash. His energy was all over the place. And then my worst mistake, and I can't pronounce this word. I heard it. Gaia. G-A-I-A. My worst mistake is joining this organization. And he met some shady ass people in that group that did not do him any favors. I will say that. He also shows me two people, one female, one male, who he was very close to, considered his best friends, like brothers, brother sister type energy, and was very in tune with them as they were him, and they understood him and he understood them, but they also saw him deteriorate. And that was hard for them, he said, and he's sorry. For his family too. But the friends seemed to understand, and he would confide things in them. There was also two bullies. Now, I know some of this may already be out in the public. I know there was one bully, but I'm getting two bullies. One would be on social media. The other one is someone that he knows, maybe in the scientific world. I don't know who this person is. It feels to be a man, a shorter haired man, maybe a little bit bald at the top, brown, blackish hair, salt and pepper, who is just a fucking bully. That's the best way I can put that. And I'm not going to apologize. He was a bully. The other person was an online troll, but they trolled David a lot. And I wish this person can be found, or could be found, and not do it again to anyone else. When I asked to mirror image David Wilcock into someone similar energies, and I've done this before. Sometimes it works, and sometimes it doesn't. In this case, they showed me Howard Hughes. Now, Howard Hughes was in the Hollywood industry around the 40s or 50s. Don't quote me on that. There's a movie about him, Howard Hughes. At TWA, he owned an airline, and he had a lot of love affairs with Hollywood actresses. Now, that's not connected to David in any way, but Howard Hughes' demeanor, his mental capacity was. Now, we know that Howard Hughes was extremely intelligent man, and we know David most definitely was too. What they shared in common was OCD. I was getting OCD, phobias, repeat word patterns. The repeat word patterns, is something that came later okay? Maybe in the last year. I don't know. But phobias, OCD, because we do know David suffered from mental health. It's fair to say that's out in the media. But I was getting OCD. I was getting phobias and repeat words, very similar to Howard Hughes. And I was getting something that the last year, David became more paranoid with germs, his appearance. You know, when I look at him on a energetic level in this lifetime, and I go like, say, 6 months back, what I see is someone, for example, well, I'll just tell you, struggling with the camera. Now, I don't know what type of camera he used. I only watched a few of his videos, but I think I am subscribed to him on YouTube. But things like that would pester him, even if the camera was off like a few degrees at a certain angle, or a hair is out of place like this. It just, you know, prior to a year ago, maybe it would have bothered him a little bit. But as things progressed in his personal life, so did the phobias and the mental health. It increased it. Didn't do him any favors. So I was being shown that. Phobias, germs, and I know Howard Hughes had a huge issue with that, but they just mirror each other as far as some of the similar mental health things is what I was getting there. Another thing that I was being taken to was repeating words. And it's really odd because saying things and not being able to cut your brain off, I guess would be a better word. It's obsessive loop behavior. For example, with Howard Hughes, this is why they used Howard Hughes as a mirror, so I could understand David a little better. With Howard Hughes, you know, he would repeat things like the way into the future, the way into the future, the way into the future. And then he would cover his mouth up. And he would still say it. And he'd get so frustrated because he could not shut that OCD off. So I feel like David was also becoming mentally stuck on phrases, words. Maybe not to that capacity, but he was starting to, you know, notice that his repetitions were a little bit off. David was very smart. This man knew when something was wrong. And he knew when he was about to go through some type of mental issue. He was very consciously aware of that. And what really upset him was he could not fix it the way he wanted to fix it. You know, none of us can fix our mental health. We all have something going on with us. Let's be honest. Okay, let's be honest. I have panic attacks. I admit that. I cannot be on an elevator no more than maybe 5 minutes. And I start, okay, where's the alarm button? We're stuck. Let's get the hell off of here. I can't do it. But sometimes I have to do it, especially when I have delivery. I have no choice but to get on an elevator because I can't take it up the stairs. So it's very hard. And it just brought me to tears because one of the people that was bullying him, I feel like this is the person that he knew. He considered a friend at some point in his life. He considered a friend. And this person, you know, you have to live with that for the rest of your life. Wilcock was an amazing person. I don't feel like there was a dark spiritual entity attached to him. I'm not saying I'm right. I don't get that on a spiritual level. I feel like there was dark entities in human form. Right here on shitty earth. Sometimes they say, this is hell. My dad used to say that before he passed away. Honey, earth is hell. I don't know. Howard, there I go again. Oh my God. That's crazy. David went through a nasty split with his person, and I see a lot of money there. And, you know, of course, he's being sued. There's just a bunch of people coming after him. Some of these cases, people were just milking him to do it. There was no actual evidence of anything. And that's sad because that fed into his phobias, his OCD, and his mental health. And here we are. He's not here anymore. But then the way he describes it is, you know what? He calls me by my first name. Sometimes we know we have these issues and we have tried to get help, but sometimes we know that there is no fix for what we have.
And I was on borrowed time.
It doesn't make what I did okay. I just couldn't do it anymore. I just couldn't do it. I was miserable. And that's exactly what I'm hearing. So I don't think that it was staged. I don't believe there's a conspiracy behind his passing or anyone connected to the science field or anything. He just did it because he just did it. And I get someone who has been bullied off and on all their life and would find ways to cope with that bullying. And it could have turned into OCD, phobia, I don't know. And that's what hurts me. It's so sad. But he had some really good friends too. He really did. And David Wilcock, the ones who screwed him over, I get karma. I get a karma energy around that, which is not often, but certain people who did not do him right are going to pay for that because David didn't deserve it. And I see karma coming. He's adamant about that solar flash in 2046. Do I even want to know? It's not something he's showing me that of how it's going to happen, but it's more of when. And I'm getting something about summertime, maybe spring or summer of 2046. I don't know. I just see the 2046 in bold letters on the calendar. And he's very adamant about that solar flash. It's like he wants people to be warned, or he needs people to know to take him serious. And may he rest in peace.